Let's burn this candle from both ends. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Star Trek Adventures, the USS Kvasir. I'm Ray with Shattered Tabletop Games, and this is our awesome crew of the Kvasir. It's not my brainchild, so I'm allowed to mispronounce it. This was the crew's design. When we last left our intrepid heroes, they had just entered the Gamma Quadrant. The ship was under attack by saboteurs. Everything was going seemingly wrong. But in the end, the crew prevailed. The dice gods smiled. The fires were put out mostly. And now the crew sits outside of a pre-warp planet. We pick up with everyone going about their daily business. This is the beginning of whatever shift, I'm assuming first shift for all of you. There was a lovely discussion in our Discord, in our cast Discord, of what kind of scheduling system this ship worked off of. It was pretty amusing to me, actually. So we're going to pick up with everybody on the bridge except for Commander Davin, who is down in engineering as usual. Actually, I believe the doctor was in medbay as well when we left off. So really quick, just for those that might be tuning in for the first time, we're going to go around the table just super fast. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves and the character they're playing, just a brief blurb, and we are going to start with the Captain, the Doctor Captain.
Hello, I am Rage Mouse on all the things that are relevant, and I play Captain Vanin Ezui, a doctor, and now in command.
Well, thank you for being here, and glad that your character does not have a hangover this time. Still has a headache, but not a hangover. Next up, we have Commander Davin.
Hi, I'm Nick at Nick Shadow on anything you can find me, and if you can't find me, you're not supposed to. I am playing Commander Davin, Chief of Engineering, and dedicated to not having her warp core ejected.
It's gonna happen.
Shush. Not until we get the secondary warp core built. So shh.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
Someone seems to think we need more power, so secondary warp core it is.
Next up, the pilot and seemingly voice of reason on this entire crew, we have Commander Galen Dax.
Jax. Hi. I'm Basics of the Game on TikTok and Jeremiah McCoy and other places. And I play Galen Jax, the Trill member of the crew.
So many lifetimes of experience. Too bad the crew won't listen. Facts. Next on our amazing cast roster, we have Dr. K4.
There, I'm GadeFX. Anywhere you care to find me social media wise, that's GHEDE. And I am playing Dr. K4, a liberated Borg Chief Medical Officer.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. This is a new development, a new doctor, helping out the Doctor Captain, so to speak, or trying to mitigate the role of doctor. We'll see how it works. But welcome to the crew. Next up, we have Lieutenant Sulak, right?
Hi, I'm Einar. Einar of the North, anywhere you care to find me. Tonight I'll be playing Romulan Tactical Officer Lieutenant Kirk Sulak.
Well, welcome. Not Starfleet's best idea putting a Romulan in charge of tactical, but who are we to decide?
Those decisions are made above our heads.
Exactly. As we like to say, that's above our pay grade. And finally, rounding out the very, very varying levels of experience on this ship, we have Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi.
Hi, I'm DM Professor Kosin, or Strength Through Solidarity on Twitter. I am playing Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi, a Cation who is a graduate of the Daystrom Institute and is very young and naive.
Perfect. Well, welcome everybody. Let's jump right into this. You all are staring at a pre-warp planet. Amathi is taking many readings. This particular planet, though, after basically being shunted through the Gamma Quadrant from an ion storm malfunction, has established that this particular planet is only about 2.5 light years from the Bajoran wormhole. So you're only 2 years away. So why this planet has no information is kind of weird, as was pointed out to me in our last episode. So I think we're going to take a minute here to let the crew kind of get back into their seats and into their roles and everything. And as I said, we're going to pick up on the bridge. And bridge crew, have at it.
Amafi is currently staring at his console, just kind of frozen, as he's looking at probably at one screen that has this line of spatial subspace tears that are like echoing from the area in front of the Bajoran wormhole up to this particular point, as well as also looking at the scans of the pre-warp civilization before him. And he's no longer jittery. He's no longer bouncing. His tail is actually just kind of stiffened a little bit, and he's kind of looking at the consoles. And he basically will turn around on his heels directly at the captain, and he's just like, "Captain, I need access to the full suite of sensors. I need to do a Tetrion radiation detection, as well as also I'd like to actually get a Vetrion emitter started up here, so that in case if we go into warp again and the field isn't properly attuned, we can drop out of warp right away and make sure that we don't cause any further subspace damage."
So you think we've torn subspace?
Oh yeah, most
no,
definitely.
we've torn subspace.
I recognize the signatures. I mean, that's actually my specialty at the Daystrom Institute.
I will go ahead and put us in an orbit so that we're not catching any sunlight and are harder to see from the ground.
Does this, Commander Galen, doesn't this planet have any satellites, like moons, anything? We could probably just hide in the shadow of their moon.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Taking in a few sensor sweeps, you find that there actually are no satellites and no moons surrounding this planet.
All right. Go for polar orbit on the night side. Make it harder for us to be seen.
Amathi will make adjustments to our sensor arrays in order so that being is that we're going to be nearby the poles of the planet, that we don't have our sensors be messed up by the magnetic distortions that usually are at most poles of the planet.
And Davin's down in engineering.
Yes.
Does she know what we know?
Don't believe so.
Yeah, Davin's right now checking up on what Ensign Reynolds has actually been doing down in engineering, like what he's assigned to, and figuring that whole part out since, we left that thread unraveled from last time. She's a little busy, so you'll have to get her attention.
Click, click.
Click, click.
Chirp, chirp. Commander Davin,
Go ahead.
it would seem that we have made tears in subspace. And we are now checking to see if there can be anything done to keep us from doing that again.
As long as we don't fly through the tears, we will be okay.
She's gonna look over at Amathi. Did we go through a tear?
No, ma'am. Our warp engines actually caused the tears.
But we have not moved from where we should be.
Let me double check here real quick. I will actually run a quick. I'll run a sensor. Basically, I'll run a full gamut of sensors to see if there's anything that we can detect, like if we've like shifted realities, like detecting for things like, basically like if there was any chronotons that were basically disturbed. So the things that are necessary for the transversal of not only space but also time as well. Basically, going through the typical scans to see if we're actually in our reality or not.
Is there any way to tell if this strange planet belongs in our universe?
I can definitely check that, Captain, if you need me to.
I think it would be best that we do.
Alright, let's get that started. Alright, what you need me to roll?
Go ahead and just do. What's your highest attribute?
My highest attribute is my reason.
Okay, so let's do reason and science.
Okay. Let's see here. Would you say that would you think that subspace theory would apply as a focus here in this moment?
Yeah, I'd allow that.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I got a 10 and a 7, and my needed to get a 15 or below.
Okay. So, through your scans, you are definitely still in your timeline, your reality. The ship itself is where it should be. What you are noticing from the planet itself, though, is that it seems to lack any kind of boson reaction. It does not seem to have a Higgs boson field at all.
That's impressive. So first things first, Mathi will report that, yes, Captain, we are currently in our timeline. Current star patterns are aligned to where we currently left off at, or where we currently are at. No other radiation disturbances that would point towards actually leaving our reality or being in an alternate reality. However, the planet currently is detecting to have no boson Higgs field. It's no wonder nobody actually found put this on the star charts. Nobody would have been able to detect it. The fact of the matter that we can see it right in front of us is actually kind of amazing.
We have a planet made of non-baryonic matter.
Basically, yeah.
That doesn't seem possible.
There's life.
No.
There are life signs. There's life. There's organic life on this planet.
According to my scans, yeah.
And in fact, while you are double checking your scans, you see that in this short amount of time, 1% of the life signs on the planet have disappeared.
1%. Within a few seconds.
Yep.
What? Like, as in, like, I'm detecting, like, people dying, or just their life signs just complete... Oh,
They're just dying.
They are dying. 1% of the population has died.
yeah. Amafi would continue to report this.
And we moved the ship, right? We're not.
Yeah, moved it to a polar orbit and out of line of sight.
I think we might need to get farther away.
I can move.
If you're telling me that death has happened since we've arrived, and I'm going to consider this experiment us as a major variable.
All right, Captain. I can move us off. It's much as an AU in relatively short time. Is that what you want?
Amathi, send the data on that you've picked up to the doctor.
Yeah. And he will go ahead and send that off to the medical officer of what he got organic scan-wise. And he'll basically continue... he'll send basically a blueprint for a Vetreon emitter to Davin with a message of like, hey, we need to manufacture one of these like yesterday, as well as also brand new warp field calculations for how our warp core needs to be attuned to account for the subspace tears that have been made.
All right. Is it safe for me to move the ship?
I would say... Oh.
Yeah. You haven't gotten close enough to really encounter the planet, per se, so... it
was more of a question to the science officer as regards to we generated a bunch of tears in subspace. Getting here, is moving the ship going to cause us a problem?
Amafi will look at the scans. How far away are we from the nearest subspace tear? Is it like within scan is it within long range sensors? It
is within long range sensors. It is approximately, I would say, 0.5 light years away.
Okay, so not even in the solar system, though, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so Amafi would say we're safe that we can safely move in the solar system, but seeing as that we're in the solar system, I would suggest not using warp unless you think you're really good at how well you can control the vessel.
Let's stay relatively in system. I'll move towards the sun. That way, direct observation from the ground would be difficult.
Yeah.
Davin will begin construction on the device, and looking at the calculations, like there is definitely some amount of tearing and wearing that Federation vessels have been doing. It's been especially prevalent, I believe, in the Alpha Quadrant. Is the largeness of these tears a little bit out of the ordinary, even for having the fact that we were at maximum warp? Like, that just seems a little odd in her head, but I don't know if that's a correct thought or not.
Are you saying that to me, or are you saying that to him?
Well, it's I'm checking Davin's internal head before she's going to basically try to get Mathi on his calculations.
I'm going to say for funsies that the tears are larger than normally reported.
She'll work on the calculations, but she'll send a message back up to Amathi going, these are much larger than we should be able to actually do. We might want to see if we can take some readings and figure out if there's some sort of environmental variables in those regions of space that caused them to be larger than what we should normally be capable of doing.
Amathi is going to do that. He's going to start running the scans, but what he's going to look for is to see if we created isolytic bursts while we were in warp. Because that's actually, if they're bigger than what they ought to be, that's what he's looking for, to see whether or not if we set off basically subspace weaponry while we were in warp.
It's an 18 and a natural 20. So yes, you did multiple times.
And you
Yeah,
worried about
Amalfi
me
just
committing
kind of-
war crime.
Yeah, as Amalfi is basically doing the calculations, he just kind of, like, there's a thunk on his console, and he's like, he looks mad.
Has the security officer acquired the other saboteur?
I'm actually waiting to get everything secure on the bridge. I have eyes on Ensign Reynolds. We don't know if he's another saboteur, but it definitely pays to have a discreet conversation with him.
And the first saboteur is still locked up in the brig through the force field that I put on the force field and containment field that I put on it, and is currently in its regeneration cycle because, you know, we polarized the hull on it.
Reynolds right now is still confined to his quarters, hasn't made any effort to come out just yet. So, you know, the security team is posted up outside. He's not getting out of there without somebody noticing. As we established last time, just real quick, Dr. K4, when you get the reports, what was established last time was that the planet had a very similar form of the bubonic plague, which racked Earth for a while. But this seems to be very alien in nature. Perhaps think of it as like a mutated version, something a little bit stronger and faster. Commander Sulak, yes.
I'll be heading down to Ensign Reynolds' quarters, see what's going on with him.
All right.
And of course, the captain's going to want to look over all of the medical and biological data that's being picked up as well. She's got the background for it to be relevant for her to look at it.
Absolutely. Would you like to do that from your chair, from your ready room, head down to med bay and work with the doctor?
She's going to head down to work with the doctor because she's also going to want to take a gander at the imprisoned that she had polarized.
You know, decisions were made. All right.
Do no harm. I mean,
to those who deserve it.
It was just my idea. Like, that's different.
We were just following orders.
That doesn't make it better.
It was them or them, man.
It was them or them. So, Commander Sulak, you get to Ensign Reynolds' quarters. The security team's posted up outside, and nobody's come out, sir. He's still in there.
All right. Stay on your guard, but let's not be too aggressive about this. It may very well just be a simple misunderstanding. I will enter the quarters after using my security lockout code. Enter the quarters and look for Ensign Reynolds.
Taking a peek into his quarters, you don't see anybody in the immediate living area, but you can hear that the sonic shower is going.
I'll close the door behind me. I will we'll go investigate the sonic shower.
Okay. Heading into the lavatory area, you can see that the door to the shower is kind of closed, and you can see a figure standing inside, but they don't appear to really be moving. They're just standing there.
In as authoritative, without being too gruff of a voice, I will call out to Ensign Reynolds, announce myself, and tell him that we need to speak.
Yes, we do. Opens the door up, and you immediately see a naked human, but his skin appears to be almost melting off of his body, but still attached. Think of it as like a wax figure that's in the process of melting. And he says, Commander Sulak, sir, what's happening to me? And he like falls forward into you.
Oh, into me. Fantastic. Well, good thing I closed up the quarters, because we're going to need to seal them, and we're going to need to summon the medical team immediately. At least I'm not committing war crimes.
Does that mean that me and the doctor are getting chirps?
Most likely, yes.
Most likely.
Captain, we have a situation in Ensign Reynolds' office, or in Ensign Reynolds' quarters. I'm going to need both of you down here immediately. There may be a virus or bacteria on board, and I may have already been infected.
Stay where you are. Medical team to whatever level he's on.
Fair enough.
What deck?
You know, for things like these, you can just throw out stuff. Like it, you know.
Deck 34!
Emergency response. Go.
Quarantine force fields on the deck. All personnel to remain where they are.
Good call.
With all due respect, I suggest sending someone to the brig.
I'll go to the brig. You get to deck 34.
Okay. And while that is happening, Galen, you have moved the planet, or moved the ship over next to the sun, and while you were there, getting all set up and getting nice and nestled in and comfy, you detect some really anomalous readings from the sun. It's actually stuff you've seen before as the amazing pilot that you are. The sun is actually at the end of its life cycle.
So
No, supernovas. No.
Move the planet!
That's not okay. Is it in rapid reduction yet, or is it at full expansion?
It hasn't reached reduction yet. It's still in expansion mode.
I'll call the captain. Captain, this star is about to go nova in relatively short period, so we
short
may
period. They don't just. How short? And she's literally like what? Still on her way to the brig? How long?
Yep.
Yeah.
Will everybody stop bothering me?
Amathi, can you give me a breakdown on when this thing is about to go?
Yeah, sure. Give me a second here, and yeah, I will do a scan. So, are we talking like that? We're talking like that. This system that we're in has a red giant,
A forming red giant, as in
or a
expansion.
forming red giant that's in the midst of expansion.
Yep.
Which would mean that potentially other planets have already been engulfed.
Bingo.
That's first off cool. Like Amathi's like this is so cool. If this wasn't so catastrophic, so yeah, I will take the necessary readings to see whether or not how much longer do we have until the sun goes pop.
You have 6 weeks.
Oh, 6 weeks, Commander Galen.
All right, thanks. I'll relay that to the captain. We've got 6 weeks before this system and everything for about half a light year in every direction over the next year becomes uninhabitable.
Do we have communications?
I don't. Do we have communications?
Yeah, actually, how is our communications?
It's good. It's fine.
We're going to need to contact any ships in the area. They need to be aware of the tears, and we need to let an emergency Starfleet signal go out because we have to evacuate this planet. I know Prime Directive, be damned, we are currently going to have to deal with the tears, and either way, there was no way to keep the planet from not being affected by our presence.
There's actually something that's kind of weird about this, Captain. I mean, if there's no... This planet shouldn't technically exist in the way that it does. So even though it says that it's a pre-warp civilization, I'm actually really highly doubting that. I'm actually kind of reminded of a case that was not too long ago. The Briar Patch incident with the Enterprise E. There was a situation where they actually encountered a pre-warp civilization, but they were actually just about as advanced as the Federation, if not more advanced. They knew how to work on positronic networks, as well as also had tons of advancements in technology and philosophy in ways that are, well, anyway, irregardless of the fact, there's a potentiality that we're dealing with something like that here.
Or we're dealing with one of those planets that disappears periodically. We've encountered those in the past too.
This planet is going to, in a sense, disappear in 6 weeks.
Yep. I'll send a message to Starfleet that the situation.
Yes. Ask them to advise if we get a response soon enough.
And I will tell communications officer to send a copy of our logs and explain the current situation.
Am I at the brig yet?
You are almost there. Real quick, I'm going to have Commander Davin make a daring engineering roll to work on those projects. Captain, you arrive at the brig. You see that there's just the one security officer standing in there, monitoring the cell and everything, and the bucket of regenerating slime is still sitting there.
Goo.
The goo.
Ooh.
Cuckoo.
It's like a slushy.
Really gross slushy.
Forbidden slushy.
Chunks.
It's spicy.
Why is it spicy?
Kind of reminds me of Hasperat after I've thrown it up.
When you get closer to the cell, like I'm talking, you entered the door.
Yeah.
It begins taking shape at your presence. It doesn't have any like actual features, but it's definitely a humanoid shape.
She's gonna get out her tricorder and take some scans. see how its healing is going and how fast.
So its regeneration is actually going pretty well. In approximately a day or so, it'll be able to take full shape again. But at this point, it still seems like it's trying.
Is there anything that's indicating to me an intelligence still existing while it's in this state?
While you were contemplating that, it reaches out like one of its, nondescript arms and kind of touches the force field.
Goo.
And it flashes a bit and it retracts its arm.
Goo arm.
Goo arm. Goo tendril.
Haven't you ever seen the Blob? Can you hear me?
It nods.
Do you know what happened?
It nods.
Was tearing subspace the intention?
Shakes its head no.
Well, that's what's happened.
It makes no response to that.
Have you put something on board? Is there a disease?
It shakes its head no.
I have a crewman who's melting. Are you related to that?
It shakes its head yes.
Is there any way I might convince you to help me in exchange for leniency?
It shakes its head yes.
I'll give you time to think on how. She's just gonna step away.
It melds back down into its pool form. The goo pool.
It's called a nod.
It's at this point, speaking of melty face boy, the doctor enters Ensign Reynolds' quarters. You find this scene unfolding with Commander Sulak. Have you put him down at this point?
Yes.
Point of order, the doctor has entered fucking nowhere without a scan to check for contagion.
That is a fair point. There are no contagions. You don't have to tell Sulak that.
It's just like, as you approach, I did not say I approached.
Point of order, I
As you
did not
enter,
enter
I-
anything.
Right. So
No.
there are no contagions, no virus, no bacteria. Yeah, you don't like that, do you? Almost as bad as bacterium.
I like that one better, though.
Fair enough.
Makes it sound radioactive.
So, Doctor,
And
what do you-
while she was heading there, she would have been talking at a speed rap to the medical team or whoever was listening about the bubonic plague style contagion and requesting certain tests be run for replicated antibiotic protocols, which is how one would treat bubonic plague.
Perfect. They are hard at work replicating whatever they are told to replicate so that you could potentially cure the planet.
So that in 6 weeks they can be engulfed by the red star. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if they are dying off 1% in a matter of minutes, I would say that the bacteria is probably the problem we look at first, then relocation.
If we're allowed to.
Triage.
If-
You know,
Today's word of the day: triage.
triage.
Yeah. Currently, we do not have clearance to do any of those things.
It's up to the allocator.
Better to need it and not have it than, or have it not need it than need it not have it, right?
Y'all hurt me deep inside.
Anyway, so no viruses, no bacteria, no contagion means that K4 is gonna waltz right in. It's the logical thing to do. Obviously, whatever is happening to Reynolds is very likely not compatible with her own physicality, i.e. being all Vulcan and junk. So,
Junkie Vulcan. Reynolds, while laying on the floor, looks up at you and says, "Doctor, the hypospray you gave me, I think I'm having a reaction to it." Well, that's a whole lot of quiet going on right now.
hold on, let me tilt my head to see if this makes more sense. It at a 30-degree angle. What?
Add 30 degrees.
Oh,
Does the doctor seem visibly confused? Like, is
No.
the doctor... No.
like there
Okay.
is nothing going on there.
Okay. So, yeah.
Lieutenant,
Sure.
I did not give the ensign any medication.
I would suppose our guest did.
This seems likely. The captain departed for the brig. My recommendation, since there is not any sign of contagion which would affect our biologies, it is my recommendation that perhaps you join her.
I will. Thank you, Doctor. And with that, Burke is going to move to the brig.
Okay. Now, Doctor, what are you going to do while Kurek takes off to the brig?
She's going to continue her absolutely admirable bedside manner. No, she's
I would love that kind of bedside manner.
Something to admire.
Life goal.
she's going to get closer to her patient who is on the floor, presumably,
Yes.
which means kneeling closer to the patient. I am not rubbing his belly. Dang it. No, she's gonna get closer to the patient. Does the ensign have any sort of undue reaction to Dr. K4, considering that he thinks that she medicated him? Or because she's scary looking?
So at this point, getting a little bit closer, you can see that his meltiness has increased greatly. And he doesn't appear to be, like, scared of you, per se. But he's, like, trying to reach out, but his arm, very visibly, like, his bones are getting soft. Doctor, help me.
At this stage, were I to sedate the patient, would it take effect?
Presumably.
So let's try that with K4 warning him beforehand that she is going to give him a sedative to calm him down so that she can work on diagnosis.
Alrighty, he nods, and as soon as you administer the sedative, he's out.
K4 has a built-in like medical supply suite in one arm, so
Bone saw.
testing. The particular test I have in mind is to try to draw some blood, because apparently at this point that's how they check for changelings, is draw some blood and wait for it to become goo.
Exactly. You draw some blood, and as you are holding up the tube, you see that it begins to turn into goo.
Well, this explains some stuff. It's gonna chirp up to the bridge to Galen and Amapi. Those guys?
This Discord chat. He just forgot he's a changeling, that's all.
She wants them to run another scan. Reynolds is confused. He doesn't know what's happening, so the chances of him always having been this are not high.
Back in your bucket.
If she wants
your bucket.
She's going to do basically power word blah and explain the situation. Reynolds appears to be deteriorating. It seems that he is turning into a changeling. Recommend running whatever scan they ran to detect him and the saboteur again. Because something done once can be repeated.
I will, because I'm sure that Kirk put a replacement at tactical, because he's the one that originally ran the scan in the first place. I am going to go up to whomever that is and basically have them forward that information to Commander Galen and have him run the scan. Unless you want me to run a Galen.
You should run the scan. You're going to have a better understanding what we get off of the sensors anyway. I would also check and see if we have some sort of situation where there's maybe accelerated time or some other weird phenomenon in the area.
Wait. He was found in engineering, right? And then he was taken to his quarters, correct?
No, he was in his quarters the whole time.
Oh, he's in his quarters the whole time. Amafi is like currently in the midst of like big brain like calculation mode on certain things, so he's gonna go ahead and run the scan real quick to see if there's any other life sign signatures that match up with the way the way that Ensign Reynolds is currently detecting. He's not going to care about the changeling that's in its bucket. He's actually focused on that.
There are no other incidences of this on the ship.
Okay. Now, here's the next question I have. Is he actually detecting as a changeling? Like he's detecting, basically life signs as a changeling?
Correct.
And basically, at this point in time, I will forward back to Dr. K4, basically like, Doctor, scans aren't picking up any other additional life forms that are matching him, and according to the scans, he's detecting fully as changeling. So either A, he's a really clever liar, or or maybe somehow or another changelings can have their memories like altered in a manner in the same, like amnesia or dementia, or basically suffering from long-term or short-term memory loss, and he doesn't remember who he is.
Ensign Reynolds is listed on our crew manifest as human. When we
Mafia just
remove the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
the simplest explanation is that he's a changeling who's lying. But I get what your point is here. He Amafio kind of like click his claws against the against the console, and he says, I need more data. And he'll basically go over to the science console, and he's actually going to run a scan on the star.
Lieutenant, I will
Yes?
also require a similar field to the one you put over the brig in the med bay.
Yes, ma'am.
I will
And
be
basic.
moving Ensign Reynolds.
And Amafi will also get that set up too, as he does a scan over the star again, just to make sure that all of his readings off of it are correct.
Okay. Davin, you have finished construction. Everything is up to snuff. Engineering actually seems to be running, dare I say it, smoothly. The warp core is humming and purring like a kitten, as it should.
Yeah.
So the ship can get out of here if needed.
Yeah, basically she'll have something programmed in the computer, like if we need an escape vector away from the star, she'll have that like pre-programmed and like basically ready to go if there needs to be a go button. At this point, she'll basically be tasking out a team to go repair the main tactical console up on the bridge, since that's kablooey, and another team to go fucking fix the goddamn shuttle bay if we have to actually use the shuttle. So
Good call. So you deploy your teams to go do that, and what is Davin doing herself?
she's gonna go scan and check out all those devices that got put behind the level 10 force field, the EMP devices that were found, and basically like do full diagnostic, full informational readout of them, and basically figure out, can they be disarmed and reused for something more productive.
Okay. While you were doing that, give me insight and engineering. Now, Captain, where were you heading after the brig?
I was just staying in the brig and stepped away from the prisoner. I guess I decided to stay there since the security officer is on his way or has arrived. So when Lieutenant gets there, she's gonna tell him everything that she's at least confirmed so far.
Okay, so yeah, Sulak, you've reached the brig and you're having a lovely discussion with the captain.
I would inform the captain of what happened with Ensign Reynolds, his assertion that the doctor had given him hypo spray, and he is a little melty right now.
But alive.
So far as all the scans tell, yes, still alive.
Thank you. Did you want to speak with it, it can somewhat communicate yes or no questions.
Keep it brief and gentle, then.
When he says gentle, she's gonna be like, who the hell are you?
Who's this guy?
Sus. When you also her reaction to the information that Reynolds appears to be changeling, she's, I guess, going to check in with the bridge to find out about the information that they've established, that there doesn't seem to be another changeling, and that Reynolds must be lying. I guess she's going to ask the computer for what the ship's complement should be, and ask how many the ship is recognizing.
Quick point of order, Captain. We should be able to go back through the security logs. Sensor sweeps are done hourly. If Ensign Reynolds is lying, he would have pinged as a changeling the entire trip. Something else is afoot. There would have been a chain caught on sensor sweeps.
And if there was a vessel somehow cloaked or attached to us, it should have been affected by the polarization, right?
In theory.
She's gonna approach the goo. There you go, Doctor. There you go. It makes you so happy. Goo. Goo.
Theoryland sounds like a terrible theme park. So, approaching the cell, the goo takes its featureless shape again.
Did you leave DS9 on board my ship?
It nods yes.
Are there friends of yours somewhere nearby that I can't see?
Shakes its head no.
She's gonna look at the lieutenant and actually step back and give him an opportunity to take a whack at it. For lack of a better term.
This is a fun game. It's called Yes or No Investigation. You were thinking of your first question real quick. Amati, the scans indicate that the sun now has 5 weeks left, and the planet's population has decreased by 4%.
How much time has passed? Hour, half hour since the last scan?
2 at most.
That can't be right.
Yeah, Amathi will say this out loud, and if that's Galen's like reaction to that,
diseases don't proceed that fast.
No, diseases don't proceed that fast. Nor does we lose an entire week when it comes to the basically defenestration of this sun.
We've got to be in some sort of accelerated time frame.
That's what I'm thinking too. Especially seeing as it is that, the planet is reacting the way that it is.
Do we still have a signal from the repeater beacons that they put at the end of the wormhole? Are they still there?
They are still there. There has not been a response yet.
But they do send a normal signal.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're not in a time dilation field.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
If we're in a time dilation field, that we wouldn't be detecting anything.
or we would be detecting anomalies in the signals that they're sending, because the time dilation would make them appear slower for us. We would appear faster to them.
Okay, so localized time acceleration that is not a normal time. That is not a normal time dilation. So we're not dealing with anything that is gravimetric.
Oh man, I wish I was somewhere near here, because it sounds like our warp bubble did not dissipate correctly, or something to do with our warp bubbles.
That is almost immediately what I'm currently thinking right now. Mafi goes over to his console and he's just like, please tell me that it actually dispersed correctly. And he's just like, he's like scanning for a warp bubble to see where it's at.
Because we might need to go to warp and come out of it correctly.
You find that your fears are justified.
Damn it! He's gonna go bridge to Commander Davin.
Davin here. What's up, Mafi? Lieutenant?
Our warp bubble didn't disperse correctly. Here's the calculations. Here's currently how big it is. Here's the current effects that it's currently having right at this moment in time. I got the calculations sent in. I carried the 2 just to make sure. And, no, not good.
Yeah, she does literally a 180 and goes back the direction she came, running back to engineering. And she's basically like, you realize that we're going to have to go to warp and then come back out of it to get rid of this effect, right? Right, Lieutenant?
Yeah. I'm currently working on it right at this moment in time. We lost about a week on the sun's expansion, and we lost about 4% of the population on the planet. So I'm currently getting things ready. You'll need to get authorization from the captain to go to warp. And Commander Galen, be ready.
Yes.
I am prepared.
So, the sun is expanding?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's currently a super red giant about ready to go nova.
Don't tell Lieutenant Sulak about this. We need him in one piece. But yes, I will. She'll basically badge out and then badge to the captain and basically be like, Captain, I need your authorization for something.
You know the best thing about this?
You're
He can hear you. So he can hear you. You're talking, and she's right next to me.
And Davin has no idea. It's gonna be great.
He's like, why do we need to go to warp? Well, I mean, we made subspace tears. I don't think we should be going to warp. What's the situation?
We didn't come out of our the warp bubble did not come out. We did not come out of it correctly, so we're now time is passing faster around us than it is on the ship. So if we want to not have to warp out of here because the sun's about to explode and the population is dying from the plague at a rapid rate, we need to go to warp for just a little bit and then come back out of it, and then we should be on a 1-for-1 time ratio with the rest of the universe. Everyone else is standing by, so.
Junior grade of Mothi.
Yes, Captain.
And you're certain that will fix at least our time problem, but you're not certain that we won't cause another tear on the way.
We are not anywhere near any of the current subspace tears, and as long as it's that we don't do another isolenic burst, we shouldn't cause any further tears. Lieutenant Kirk, what's your experience with isolenic reactions and shocks? It's subspace weaponry, and I'm not sure what you've studied at the Academy.
Oh, the Academy. I actually, one of my papers was written on isolatic weaponry. What do you need to know?
Well, I need to know. I need to know.
I like how
if
calm
there's-
he's being after hearing that there's a sun exploding nearby.
Yeah.
Basically, according to my scans, while we were in the accelerated, when we were forced into warp, basically there were several isolanic bursts that went off that basically caused the tears that we did. I don't know whether or not if we have some sort of sabotage that's currently going on right at this moment in time. And then he kind of thinks about it for a moment and says, what if the changelings are trying to prevent us from further exploration of the Gamma Quadrant? I mean, I know that we're currently at peace with the Dominion, but he kind of thinks about it for a moment. He's just like, what if they're trying to keep us from going any further, and they're basically causing tears nearby the wormhole? The Vetrion radiation could cause the actual wormhole to collapse, and the tears would get worse. There would be a possibility of any warp travel from the actual wormhole in and of itself.
Junior Great Amathi?
Yes, Captain. Sorry.
Time being a thing.
Yeah. I'm working on it. Sorry, Captain.
Somebody give that cat 5 extra XPs.
And some catnip.
He figured it out. Figured out what I was doing.
Monty, if you can give us the vector you want me to put into the warp field.
Yes, definitely. So, Amathi is going to zen himself. And he's going to just kind of look at the console. His tail will perk up, and he's basically going to use his hands and his tail on the console at the same time as he's going to go through rapid fire calculations. And he's going to be doing two major things. One's getting correct vector for basically warping out of here to make sure that there isn't any further issues. He's also going to be scanning for whatever device is actually causing the isolanic bursts to actually go through. He's thinking it's being channeled through the warp nacelles because that's actually what makes sense in this regards. And essentially, he's also going to send new calculations to Davin to input into the warp core, so that we can lessen the amount, or basically tune out the isolanic bursts if they go off.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but the cat is confident that he can pull it off because, well, he's young and he's, very full of himself.
Give me daring and science.
All right. So I will do that. Do we have any momentum right now? Because I probably would like to spend some.
I think you all still had 3.
So yeah, I will spend momentum for another die, and obviously I'll be using I've got warp field dynamics, subspace theory, warp theory, and warp engines as my focuses here. So I think I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how we do.
Come on, all 20s.
No, I got
1, 2, 1, 1.
No, I got a 12 and 2 1s. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes.
Yeah, that definitely fills the momentum back up. Beautiful. You do exactly as you say without flaw. Everything works beautifully, and you get messages out where they need to be.
With cat-like grace.
Cat-like reflexes, yes. So, Commander Galen.
Yes.
What kind of warp maneuver are you going to try and pull off here?
I'm going to meet the vector that he has described and make sure that I'm not going to have anything in the backfield in case something goes wrong, and just being as precise as possible.
Ooh, I love precision. I have complete and utter confidence in you, Commander Galen.
So let's go with control and con, and I am going to allow you to roll 2 extra dice. Now, while you are doing that, let's pop back to Medbay real quick. Doctor, have you moved Ensign Reynolds into Medbay? You might be muted.
Yes,
There we
and
go.
lifted the quarantine order so that I could pass freely.
Yes.
And so can everyone else.
Safe plan. Yes, he is fully, level 5 quarantine. He's not going to infect anybody if there's some kind of secret virus or anything.
It's less infection and more if what she is worried about being the case seems to be the case, how he will emotionally respond.
That is fair.
So it is less worried about a contagion and more confining the ensign for his own safety.
Loving it. So what are you doing at this stage? You've got him all situated. You can begin testing. What would you like to do?
I think mostly I'm looking for weird stuff.
Okay.
Until the scans come back, which have been ordered, I would be looking for any indication of what she suspects. So any indication that there is some genetic fuckery happening.
When the scans come back and you begin poring over the results, you notice that there is one super tiny, almost undetectable additional protein-based addition to his DNA. It is linked onto the particular sequence which dictates species.
Only in Star Trek is that how this works.
Indeed.
And at this point, too far gone to repair.
It is not. It'll take some doing, but it is possible.
Time for informed consent.
He is passed out.
That's unfortunate. Let's wake him up.
Oh no. You hypospray him, he wakes up. Doctor, help. What's happening to me?
And she's going to explain as calmly as she can.
In Vulcan ex-Borg terms.
In as close to layman's terms as she can get.
Fair enough. With no emotion. Yeah, flat.
This is a thing. This is a thing. It is happening. Here is how I think I can fix it. I have no guarantee it will work. If it does not work, this is how changeling physiognomy works. If it does work, it may not work completely. Is this something you want to try?
Yes! Please save me!
May I sedate you again?
Please!
So we sedate the patient again. Snooze!
He is knocked out.
And then we start working on whatever it is I have to do to remove the prion and fix.
Okay. So give me daring and medicine with any related focuses you might have. And while you're rolling that up, we are going to pop back over to the brig. Sulak, have you decided on some questions?
Mm-hmm. First question. Are there any other devices planted aboard the ship?
It nods.
Are these devices the same as the EMP devices you installed in our ship?
Shakes its head no.
Would these devices be causing the isolytic bursts that we discovered?
It nods.
Will the bursts happen if we go to warp again?
Shakes its head no.
Commander, you're clear to go to warp.
Duly noted.
So much trust in the goo. What'd you roll, Lieutenant? Or Commander?
A 2, a 3, and a 16, all of which are successes for me.
Yippee-ki-yay, you warp to the vector that was provided by Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi. It goes off without a hitch. The ship is reading that the warp bubble collapsed properly, and readings are coming in for Amathi that time has slowed back down to where it should be. The minute that time is fixed, let's say, and the warp bubble has collapsed, you get an immediate message from Starfleet. It says, proceed with caution. Don't make it a habit of breaking the Prime Directive.
So we just got a bureaucratic, that if you do this, this is on you.
Yeah.
Basically.
Cool.
They haven't gotten the reports from Janeway yet, so...
And we've officially lost a week. We've been a week out of touch.
Yep.
Not the first time Davin's been sleepless for a week, but hey, we're still working on things.
But by standing orders, all we can do is sit here and watch.
The captain's gonna leave the lieutenant to continue questioning, and she's gonna go to her ready room and start looking at the information on the plague stuff so that she can assist with whatever the doctor may also have in mind to successfully at least try and treat without maybe needing direct contact, at least for the time being.
Sounds good.
Captain, this is Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi. I might have an idea.
I mean, she's literally going to walk right past you to get to her ready.
Right? She's like, turbo lifts open. She's
the way you get there.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where he gets this idea comes to him, and he sees her get off the turbo lift. He's about ready to hit his comm badge. It's like, Captain, can I see you in the ready room real quick?
Yes, please, quickly. We clearly have no time.
Amafi will go into the ready room, and he will say, I think I might have an idea on how to help the solar system and give them time. More time than what they currently have right now. And it technically won't violate the Prime Directive because we are not interfering directly into their culture.
Just try and be as brief as possible.
I want to lessen the mass of the red giant of the super red giant.
You want to shrink a star in the middle of its expansion.
Yep.
How?
actually, due to some reports that we got from the Delta Quadrant and the crew of the Voyager, I think we can possibly do it because the Ferengi are the one that gave me the idea. Basically,
yeah, that's a great way to sell something is to say it was a Ferengi's idea.
Okay, just so we know that with the expansion of this is because of the mass that is collecting on the inside of the star. It's expanding, and eventually it's going to pop like a balloon, right? So the idea is that we want to let a little bit of the air out of the balloon and shrink it down just enough to where it may give this civilization time to develop warp travel and eventually discover what's currently going on in its system and then potentially either find their own way to deal with it or escape, right? So, basically...
You believe that doing this will buy them a few centuries?
Potentially, yes.
That's the best case scenario.
That's the best case scenario.
What is the worst case?
That I remove too much mass from the star in that it basically its gravity becomes so heavy that it actually turns into a black hole.
And what are the statistical likelihoods of that worst case?
I'd have to crunch the math on it, but give me some.
She's gonna be totally looking at medical crap about this civilization in between his crazy.
He basically, he's sitting there, counting on his claws for a moment, and he says, at this point in time, I can't give you an exact estimate. I think that I can get it to about 60-40 in our favor. So, I mean, I know it doesn't seem like it's much, but it's better than nothing.
I was waiting for a carry the two.
I want you to crunch those numbers and use anyone that you think can assist you.
Okay, no problem, no problem, Captain. I'll get right on it. Okay. And seeing as that we technically still have 5 weeks, I have plenty of time to go to my chalkboard. I don't have a chalkboard, but you know what I mean.
The doctor's plans that she would be looking at would involve seeding weather patterns with the antibiotics.
She would have been completely in accord with that concept, and it would have been exactly what she was going to suggest.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. With your wonderful rolls of 1 and 4, you have cured Ensign Reynolds, and his melting form appears to be very quickly returning to normal.
We're just gonna let that man sleep until...
You can audibly hear the bones re-solidifying.
That's probably not exactly painless, so we're just gonna let the man sleep. But she's also going to do the chirp for the head of security.
I like to think that on our ship, at least, that is the sound that the comm badges make. It's not the high-pitched chirp.
Literally the words chirp chirp.
It's like that deep chirp from what is it on cartoon Adult
Titmouse?
Swim? The Titmouse chirp.
Yes, the titmouse chirp.
Chirp.
That's it. That's our comm badger. The chirp chirp.
One of the creators and voice actors of Venture Brothers is the one making that chirp.
I love that you got it. Okay.
It's becoming a lot lately.
Of course she did. Of course she did.
So, nerds. Commander Sulak, you get a chat request.
She's
You've been tweeted
it into your DMs.
You got a tweet.
I hate everything about this.
Go ahead.
Lieutenant, when the situation is not dire, your presence is requested and met.
Thank you, Dr. K4. Seeing as Kurik doesn't believe there's going to be a whole lot he's going to be able to get out of our guest until he's had a chance to de-goop a little bit, he's going to head to med.
I love that that's a phrase. De-goop. All right. You are heading to medical. Amathi, you have crunched the numbers, and you think you could probably pull this off.
So here's the thing about it. This is actually highly theoretical, which actually goes into a bunch of things that Amathi, like one of his actual convictions, so to speak. He's got a theory for every situation, and also likes to explore testing new theories. So here's the idea that he currently has. Basically, the new Vetron basically emitter that he's having Davin attached to our deflector array. He wants to use that and basically fire a Vetron beam into the magnetic field of the super red giant, but fire it at such a manner to where it will, because it's basically going to create a geo-scalding fold. Basically, it's a subspace tunnel that's going to go from one point to the other, and basically we're going to do a massive coronal ejection of mass from the super red giant and basically aim it out into the dead of space, and then basically eject the necessary amount of mass to shrink it down from super red giant to back to red giant, so that it basically will give basically a lot of centuries back to the planet.
I dig it. I'm here for it.
Are you going to consult anyone else who might be able to help?
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to 100% consult everybody else on this one.
Amathi's like, I'm the captain now.
Look at me.
No, I just was telling this to the storyteller so that he knew what exactly I was up to.
Oh, and he was totally listening.
I was. Don't understand any of it, but I was listening. I'm just an elected official.
But yeah, no, he'll be passing this. Obviously, the senior staff is going to be Amathi's going to do this huge presentation. He is writing up a dissertation right at this moment in time that he's going to give to the entirety of the senior staff.
So wait,
he's going to consult.
You're calling a conference?
No, not yet. I want to do all of the actual calculations and everything else first before I call up senior staff to basically get their approval. Because I'm going to consult everybody else in the science department and make sure that Amathi's right, and then he's going to present it to the senior staff to make sure that he can do this. And he's also going to go. One of the things that Amathi really wants to do is just to try to find a way to do this, to get rid of this mass and put it in an area that is not going to negatively impact any other star systems that have life, that basically are supporting life. He also wants to make sure that he basically wants to find a dead, empty portion of space in order to do this.
I think the Romulans might have a way to deal with excess mass.
But
Wait a second.
Nobody trusts the Romulans for a reason.
Once Amathi starts consulting Davin, she'll tell him to calm down, take a breath.
The doctor just
You need to
rises up from behind him with a hypo, like.
The doctor is still working out the problems with seeding antibiotics into a weather pattern.
The captain would help.
So I will I would be bad at my job if I didn't point out a couple of things. One, we don't know the long-term effects of releasing those antibiotics on the planet. We could be creating more of a problem than we're fixing. Second, I like the plan, but about the star, but we have no way of knowing if the ejected mass will cause a problem to the localized space. It might not, but we would need to do studies that would take more time than we've got to do.
Did you come into my ready room to say that?
When he was explaining to me the
Yeah.
plans that were in place.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, he would have explained it in the ready room. Not on the bridge.
Would you like to fly a shuttle with the doctor to get a biological sample from one of our residents so that we can lower the likelihood that our cure will cause more problems rather than help? Would that make you feel better?
Yep, and I'll do whatever you order. But normally we wouldn't even be doing this much. We didn't create that disease. And we've, as the Federation, we have watched planets die before.
Have any of your past lives been a doctor?
Yeah.
You want to focus really hard on that one right now and tell me what they would do.
Point. Let's do this then. Take a couple of biological samples that are not the people, but should give us at least some baseline for the genetics of the animal life on the planet. Would
We're
make
going
it
to
safer.
need samples of everything that would be affected by this. And if you're going to go down there and chance being seen in the first place...
We don't have to go down there. We could just target them from remote locations and just beam them up for a moment, take a cell sample and bring them back down.
Well, then I would put you on that.
Very well, Captain.
You know, you do a great job taking a leadership role. It suits you.
It really doesn't. I don't want to be responsible for making the decision you're making.
But you do feel responsible enough to want to voice your concerns and give your advice so that I will lead better.
Because you're my captain, and you're also my friend. I've got some experience.
You can't run forever. Dismissed.
Thank you, Captain.
No, we are a serious show.
I told you we're Space Mash.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Whatever, you love it.
I do. Space man.
Look, you're Zek, the Frank Burns, if there ever was.
Speaking of which, I like that all of this is going on, and no one has asked where Zach is.
He's on the holodeck, obviously.
We're doing our jobs. He should be doing his job.
Out of the way, and that's all we care about.
It has been a peaceful crisis.
Yeah, this is the least chaotic. Sulak, you have reached medical. The two of you can discuss whatever the doctor needed of you.
Dr. K4, you needed to see me?
Affirmative.
I do for you.
It is a matter of what you called our guest.
Go on.
Adversary they may be, but you called a sentient being it. You objectified them.
I'll make sure to formally log that particular complaint. Fact of the matter is, you are just that, a doctor and a soldier. Our points of view are drastically different.
I understand the emotion involved, and I understand the urge to lessen something that you may have to be the end of. However, you and I in specific need to be better than that urge. It was not long ago that you or I might have been it in a cell.
Duly noted, Dr. Gabor. Is there anything else you require of me?
And she's just going to give the quick rundown of what happened with Ensign Reynolds so that he can pass it on upstairs while she continues to do medical stuff.
The medical
All right.
things.
And the captain would be like sending like tweaks and additional stuff to the doctor so that the atmospheric bombs will be calibrated and ready for additional data once the commander has gotten it.
Yeah, I'll be getting with the transport crew, and we'll be doing some sampling of native wildlife that aren't intelligent, just to get a genetic baseline and other chemical factors that we can make sure that it is going to generate less problems with the environment or anything like that.
Okay. And Davin, you were asked to attach this creation of yours to the deflector array. Are you going to be doing that yourself or sending a crew out?
We'll be sending a crew out.
I ain't going out there.
Worker bees, baby.
Until it's deemed, there's going to be specific instances in which Davin will work on stuff herself, but in general, you don't send the head of things out to where, it's dangerous. It's not like, we're on a TV show or something where they do that all the time.
Oh,
We're going to be smarter.
Hollow emitters on the outside of the ship.
I'm working on it, Captain.
All right. So everybody...
Activate chaos.
I have some designs, Amathi. We'll talk.
Go fix the ship, chaos. Go fix the ship.
Hi! Can I teach you a lesson?
No, I'm good.
Reggie, I will murder you.
We see a Mothi like attached to the ceiling.
Now, everybody is going about their work. Everything is coming along in pretty expedited fashion. Amathi, you have finished crunching all of your numbers. You've got all your data together. The only thing to do now is to present it.
Yeah.
The captain, I guess, would want all senior officers to be present for this presentation.
Yeah, basically, Amathi will go over to the ready room, make sure the captain is actually taking, people coming in, and then basically be like, Captain, I have my presentation ready. Whenever you and the senior staff want to hear it.
There's a nice conference room at the end of the at the back of the bridge that we can have this.
The ensigns have been cleaning it very diligently, just waiting for this opportunity. One of them seems super excited about it.
Hi, Ensign Boimler.
All right. Let all senior staff know we will have a meeting in an hour.
Okay.
All right, an hour passes, and I'm gonna say all senior staff is now sitting around that lovely high gloss conference table.
Davin has a Ractigino in one hand and is sipping it.
It's like an extra large.
With a silly straw.
Right? Yeah.
Wait.
Extra silly.
It's not even her first one of the day. Like, this is like number 4 or 5 at this point.
Of this meeting.
So like one per crisis.
Right.
We've had like 5 crises.
Well, we had the time and the sun and the changeling thing and
We're getting it solved. We're doing good. Monty, take it away.
And the plague.
Ticking them off.
Okay. So Amafi will go into his explanation at this point in time. He'll go, all right. With the Vetrion emitter that I basically gave the design specs to Commander Davin, we have this primarily so that if we encounter any further subspace tears, we can be dropped out of warp immediately. Also, this will allow us to actually be dropped out of warp if we run into the same problem that we did with the ion storm that basically hit the nacelles. So we could be cut out of warp almost immediately by basically setting certain parameters like that. With Vetrion emitter on the deflector array, we'll be able to create a Vetrion beam. With that, we can use that to basically interact with the geoscalding, or basically with the magnetic field of the super red giant, create a geoscalding fold, and basically with that, we'll basically eject a chronal mass from the actual super red giant itself and do enough of it in order to basically lessen the mass of the star, possibly buying thousands of years for the solar system so that the people that are on that planet can properly develop, and it's zero interference on our end in that regards. And seeing as it is that our warp bubble caused a little bit of the problems as it is anyway, I mean, it's the least that we could do for these people. Now, I've chosen a few vectors in the dead of space where releasing this mass will do the less amount of harm that it possibly can. If anything, we're basically creating nebulas at this point in time. Which, I mean, that's kind of cool. Potentiality of, basically birthing new stars or even new planets or something like that within the area. Now, I did the calculations. I can get this to work. We have everything that we currently need to do this. I can run more calculations just to be sure about it, but this definitely should work as long as is that there's no other... As long as is that there isn't an X factor that I'm not taking accounting for, which I really honestly can't, this should work.
What's the chances, Lieutenant, of triggering the supernova far before it is ready, far before it would otherwise normally be?
That basically would, the only way that would happen is that if because basically I'm creating a fold in space. It is an instantaneous point between two spots here. And the thing is about that is that if I open up the other, basically with where I'm directing the beam to open up the other part of the fold in, if there is mass in there, it's a potentiality that it could draw mass into the star and basically accelerate it. But that's why I'm scanning for dead of space where there is absolutely no mass whatsoever that we can draw into. So as long as that I avoid any like nebulas or any other basically anything along those lines, I won't increase the mass. I'd be more worried about actually making the star too dense and collapsing in on itself to create a singularity. I'm actually really surprised that the civilization that's on this planet is able to survive with a actual super red giant in their system. It's a credit to their species. I'm gonna give them chutzpah for that.
At the mention of singularity, Davin basically looks at Kurik and then turns her attention back to Amathi.
At the mention of singularity, Kurik is deep in thought.
So this is going to direct mass away, correct?
Correct.
Will that not generate an equal force pushing us away at the same time?
That is correct, and I have an idea for that particular aspect of it. Now, our deflector fields can actually ride out supernovas and whatnot. So what I was essentially thinking is that we're going to time this. We should time this to where we do the air dispersal of the captain and the doctor's thing to basically hit the planet with the antibacterium so that they can basically get, their civilization back on track. We can then hit the star. And basically, as we're getting the equal force pushed back onto us, we can tune the deflector field in order to take that force, and it will eject us out of the system. And basically, you can use the impulse engines in order to essentially steer us clear of anything. We'll probably hit somewhere around maybe warp 5. Actually, Vetrion particles travel at about the speed of light, so maybe warp 1, warp 2 at the most.
My understanding was tetryon particles have a variable rate of speed. Is that going to give us problems with any of our own systems?
Potentially. It's one of those things that I can't calculate for that, unfortunately. Vetrion particles do vary in speed, but all I know is that it will go faster than the speed of light.
There is another option.
Yes?
Gavin, you remember that paper I wrote Professor O'Brien's class?
The one that he attempted to shame you in front of the entire class with.
The same. We could tame the excess mass of the star. My people are quite adept at harnessing stars for power sources. It would give us a more controlled means of decreasing the mass of the star without having to worry about any potential variables like fluctuating speeds of tetryon particles, any unaccounted for mass, because as this planet is proof, there are things out here that may not show up standard Starfleet scans.
The real question is, do we have time and the materials to develop a sufficient containment device for the excess mass? Because I like the idea. I just don't know if time is on our side on this one.
Everything we need would already be on board, and anything we don't have is easily replicatable.
It's not necessarily that. We actually already have something on board that might be able to do it. What about Tyr?
You want to put in the shuttle?
No. So the shuttle designs that you and I were working on, we were working on it for, the purposes of like accelerate, for basically better warp engines, designing of power containment and everything else like that, right?
Right.
Okay, so what if, because it's got a warp core in it, right?
Yes, as most shuttles do.
empty of it of its dilithium, empty of it of its antimatter matrix. We retune the field in order to basically handle the proto-matter of the star, and we create our own proto-star drive.
Can you do that in 5 weeks?
Yeah, we can.
It's worth hard enough. We could
And no
probably pull
shipyard?
off and-
Yeah, that's where we run into some issues again with time, unless we re-engineered the effect that we just got rid of, to where instead of we are traveling where everywhere else is traveling faster than we are,
No, that's way too dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say.
Well, not only that, it also violates time protocols that was set down by the Federation and whatnot. So, we definitely don't want to do that. I'm just saying that.
Let's focus.
Sorry.
Buffer time.
The plan that I've come up with, without doing the additional, without doing what Lieutenant Kirk and Davin were talking about, my plan will work. It'll basically eject us out of the system very, very quickly. It would be dangerous for the ship, but I actually have a lot of faith in Commander Galen's ability to fly. He's one of the best pilots that was at the Institute. He took my designs out and he ran circles around most of the pilots out there.
I can do the piloting. If you're sure of your calculations, I don't see a problem on my end.
K4 looks absolutely less than amused.
Basically, Davin looks at Amathi. So you don't think we'll be going faster than Warp 5? There's no power issues that I should be aware of, especially since you're not sure how fast we'll be flung?
I mean, you're probably going to want to calibrate for that. I just don't think that we would be able to actually go faster than Warp 5, because unless this is like Hobos, which I'm pretty sure that it isn't, this super red giant shouldn't actually affect subspace.
A more important thing to actually concentrate on is our inertial dampening fields. If we're going to take that much rapid acceleration, we're going to have some strain.
We're just going to also need to make sure that we aim ourselves in a direction of known space in the Gamma Quadrant. Because
if it will strip us away, we have other things that need to be dealt with first.
No.
Finalizing your calculations.
Might be a good time to get rid of some of the excess cargo, though.
That would definitely help.
I agree. I think that would definitely make our calculations much easier.
How interesting. I did ask all senior officers to be at this meeting, but they aren't all here. So
I'm right here.
I guess...
I've been here the whole time.
Oh, I didn't see you down there. You should stand. Oh, you are standing up.
Yeah, he's very visibly like the table's up to his nose.
Well, I'm glad you're on board with our plans.
Yeah, we can order the deck crew to unload it into pallets. I'm sure it can be recovered eventually. It'll end up in interstellar space for a while, but yeah, put some beacons on it and go back for it another time. Maybe you could radio home to have some the Ferengi come out and pick them up afterwards.
I don't think this is going to play out like you all think it will.
Tell me, how is it going to play out?
Starfleet's going to be very, very upset.
Yeah, that's not what the message we got said.
Oh no, not about your plan. I don't care about that. I'm talking about my goods.
Starfleet's going to be upset about the goods that they don't have anything to do with.
Oh.
Well,
Captain, perhaps you
conveniently.
and I should have a discussion in private at some point.
I mean, I think I did try that once already.
Yes, but that was before the Trill is wanting to eject my goods all over space.
Oh,
Well, this
I'm
is
sure we
about
can attach some
Mercy
beacons.
and saving a civilization, that takes priority over goods.
There are far more important civilizations that need saving.
There's
than the
no
ones out
such
here.
thing as a civilization being more important than another.
I believe another person at this table may disagree with you.
I'm all ears.
Same.
I'm so glad that you took that because I set it up so nicely. Is somebody else at this table more interested in saving some other civilization instead?
Indeed.
That is not Zek?
Correct. But again, I feel that perhaps that's something we should discuss in private.
Right now?
No. Obviously, there's more important things at stake right now. Like my goods surviving this whole red giant.
Well, you can pick which ones don't get ejected if that'll make you feel better.
I can make calculations on the weight and the rafts they can go on to, and we can do the calculations with and without them to see which one increases our odds of survival as well as the planet's, Captain. I'd be happy to perform those calculations.
And I think we've got some subspace beacons just lying around. We could just add them to the pallets, make it easy for them to be found later.
And also, like, hasn't the actual exchange of goods already taken place? Haven't you already got, like, pricing and everything like that on there? So you could just, like, dump it out into space and then have the people come pick up their goods, and then you don't have to actually waste any of your precious time that you can use for doing other things. Basically, time equals profit, right?
Yeah, curbside pickup.
Yeah, and of course, to do the calculations correctly, I guess we'll have to do an evaluation of what's in the cargo.
If it suits the security officer and would make the crew feel better, I would be more than happy to go with him and explore the contents and explain what is happening. But
I think that
not
would be nice.
before I talk to the captain.
I mean, that's fair.
Well, it has been a long day. We do still have several weeks.
5 weeks and counting.
I want as many... My brain just lost the word.
Rectigino.
Options, Captain?
No, those... the thing... Simulations! I want as many... just the word would not.
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
as many simulations as possible, and I want to know the data on every single run.
Okay.
Yes, Captain.
All right, and as the crew begins simulations and getting things in order to save the universe, we are going to wrap this episode. Thank you all very much for joining us. This has been a roller coaster of crazy and serious and emotion, and I have loved every single minute of it. Like, this has been amazing. So thank you to all of you players. I'm so blessed to have you in this game. This is awesome. Thank you all very much. Yes, take your bows. Take your bows. And thank you to all the listeners. Without viewers like you, we wouldn't live. You as well also. Thank you all very much for checking our stream out. Tune in 2 weeks for maybe the saving of the planet. We shall see. Thank you all very much. We'll see you all next time. Bye!
Bye.